Hi, everybody. So happy to be able to come on here, and we are actually going to do a different series. My name is Jessica Kupos. I am a certified aromatherapist and a certified coach for the Mood Makeover Method, and I am going to be highlighting through a series of videos this week and next week oils that are really, really great for emotional support and for our mood. And when we talk about the Mood Makeover Method, emotions, we're talking about our emotions, our emotional state, and our bodies and our mind. So we really want to make sure that we're using essential oils or we're using aromatherapy in an appropriate way so that we can really be the best version of ourselves and we can kind of have that emotional detox so we can show up better, not just for other people, but especially for us, right? So we're going to highlight two essential oils in this particular video that I love using to support the mood and to support and regulate our emotions. And that really has to do with our limbic system. Our limbic system really is the driver's seat. It just controls everything. When we think about the amygdala, when we think about the thalamus, when we think about the hypothalamus, things that control our central nervous system, our autonomic system, things that we do without even thinking, our heart rate, our blood pressure, our respiratory rate, those things are just automatic. Our breathing, we don't think about those things, but it plays such a pivotal role um, in how our bodies function and how our minds and our mood is affected. And so when we think about, I particularly love talking about the amygdala because that really focuses so much on our emotions, our emotional state, particularly when it comes to fear and anger. And, when our bodies are in a state of sympathetic mode, which is, most people know it refers to the fight, flight, or freeze mode. Um, when it's stuck there, it just creates a host of problems. And especially when it comes to our emotional state, it's like chronic stress. I like to think of it like, a car. And, what happens when you put your foot on the pedal and you just, you're revving it up and it's just going and going. What are things that will start to occur when you put stresses on the engine? It's billowing smoke. It could be a really bad smell. The engine is going really loud. There may be really bad shaking. Those are just those outward things that we see and we hear. But what's really going on inside could be even worse, to the point where we can really, really damage it and it's costly repair, or it's not repairable at all. And so I like to use that analogy when it comes to our bodies when we're under chronic states of stress or just going through a really difficult time emotionally, continually over and over, or traumas, emotional traumas, what's happening to our bodies. And so we want to get our bodies to a place in space where it's calm, where we can get our bodies into balance or parasympathetic mode, or otherwise known as that rest, digest, and rejuvenation mode. And that's what we're going to focus on, is a couple of oils by means of an inhaler that you can take with you on the go when you feel like you're extremely stressed out. Maybe you suffer from anxiety or panic attacks. You want to be able to use certain oils that will get your body in a state of balance and calm quickly. So we're going to do an inhaler blend at the end of the video, which I'm super excited about. But I really want to talk about creating just a couple of oils. Ones I actually love using. One is geranium. Geranium is a beautiful, beautiful flower. It's a beautiful floral oil. It has little bits of lemony notes, which I love. It's incredible for anxiety, when we're stressed out, when we're really unsure of ourselves. And that's what happens, when we are in chronic states of stress, or when our body is going through sympathetic mode, or, that fight, flight, or freeze mode, or it's maybe stuck in that mode, or we're just having a hard time emotionally, we're triggered all the time. Geranium is a beautiful oil to use to kind of settle us, mind, body, and our heart. And it's just so important. The chemical family of geranium is esters and monoterpenols, and some maybe like who maybe are not as familiar with aromatherapy are like, what is that? What does that even mean? So the chemical family, we can look at it like the parents. It's like mom and dad, and mom and dad's characteristics and their qualities. And constituents or the components are citronellol and linalool and geraniol. And when we talk about components or constituents, we're really referring to, you can look at it like the kids, so each child's unique abilities, their unique gifts and qualities, and that's what we mean when we refer to those things. And so, when it comes to geranium, it is a central nervous sedative, and that's really what we need, right? Our bodies are super stressed out, our emotions are high, maybe we're having heart palpitations, maybe we're hyperventilating, or we're having a panic attack or an anxiety attack, or we feel like we're losing control. And so geranium is a great oil when it comes to settling our bodies. It's great at lowering our anxiety, reducing that anxiety and stress, calming the body down. And it is incredible for times of transition as well. What do I mean by that? So a lot of times when we think about where our mood can be affected, it can be affected when we're going through times of transition. So think about maybe a job change. Think about this pandemic that we're still in, been 2.5 years. That's huge transition and change and stress, chronic stress. Maybe you're going through a health crisis, or maybe a loved one is, or maybe you are starting a new relationship, or you ended one, or maybe you are bringing a child into the world, or maybe you've lost a child or a family member, or you're doing a move. That was a huge thing for me when I moved a few years ago. Huge stressor. Moving is a stressor. So anything in your life that causes you to feel unbalanced, or anything that causes distress in your life, or maybe you have a job that is high levels of stress. Maybe you work in a hospital, or maybe you do some type of medical, or you work in a doctor's office, or maybe your job is just stressful. Life can be so stressful and triggering and difficult. And so being able to use geranium, it is great at calming our bodies down, calming that anxiety, and incredible for times of transition. And so it will be a great oil to use in your inhaler blend to kind of get you, in a calm space, and that's what you want. That's exactly what we want. I have some notes here, so don't mind me. I'm just going to flip a little. And then I'll talk about, we're going to also talk about some safety data that I really want to highlight, because safety is super, super important when we're using really high quality essential oils. Really, with aromatherapy, we want to make sure that we're using 100% therapeutic grade wild harvested oils. You want to make sure you're not using synthetics. And it's so important, because when we think about it, if we're using just any kind of oils, back in the day, I'm not going to lie, before I really understood about essential oils and aromatherapy, I would just go to my local grocery store and just pick something off the shelf and just use it. And it's so harmful and so detrimental, because think about how many synthetics are in those essential oils. You don't really know, especially when you're absorbing it in this way. When you're inhaling it, it goes right into our brain, right? And so we don't want to be absorbing or taking in or inhaling, I should say, we don't want to be inhaling synthetics, because, our bodies, when they're in that state, when they're in a state of sympathetic mode, that means your body's already stressed and taxed. And so we don't want to be inhaling things and causing our bodies to be, further taxed. You always want to make sure you're using pure, organic, wild harvested oils. Okay. So some safety data for geranium. Some safety data, it's non-toxic and it's non-irritating, which we love hearing that. I do have a little bit of a side note. It's not safety data, but I do want to just make sure that I mention it. Geranium is a very, very sweet oil. It is very sweet smelling. For some people, that can be a little off-putting or just a bit overpowering or overwhelming. So if that is the case for you, you want to make sure that you mix it with another oil that you love, which we can talk about when we can mix it with. You want to make sure that you're mixing it with another oil, because it can be so strong, and you don't want to, it can cause nausea or bits of a headache. So we want to just keep that in mind. It's not safety data, but just keeping it in mind. If it is a bit much for you, you can always mix it with another oil, or there's other choices. There's tons of other choices as well. But that's just one of the things that I happen to love about geranium. And I also want to talk about cedarwood. And cedarwood, I'm not really a woodsy girl. There's some wood scents that I'm just like, but cedarwood I love. And it really is grounding. You know, when we think about our woodsier oils, we think in terms of the forest, you think about trees, and you think about something that is really grounding, you know, and that's what we want when our bodies are chronically stressed or full of anxiety, or we're feeling overwhelmed or panic. You know, we want to be able to support our bodies and getting it firmly rooted. And I think so much about just a tree in general. Like I'm sitting in front of a window here and I see several trees, and thinking about how deep that root system goes, or say there's a bad storm, we don't think like, oh man, you know, the trees, they're not gonna make it. They're just gonna be toppled over. We don't think like that, right? Because we know that root system goes so deep that any storm that comes at it is gonna withstand, it's gonna hold up. That root system is strong, it's stabilized, right? And so that's what we want for our bodies. You know, when we have turmoil or chronic stress or anxiety or, you know, depression and things like that, we want to be able to use an essential oil that will ground us, you know, help to center us. And cedarwood is incredible for that. Cedarwood comes from the chemical families of sesquiterpenes and sesquiterpenols. So we're going to remember the mom and dad and their characteristics, and the constituents or components of this oil is acedrine and cedriol. I think I said that right. Pretty sure I said that right. Let me double check my reference here. Yes, acedrine and cedriol. And so when we think about it, it's incredible for our mood and emotion. That's what cedarwood does. It's incredible when it comes to our moods and our emotions, and really being able to regulate our bodies. It's very, very nourishing. And we need that when we have, again, that anxiety and that stress and things are just difficult. And so what I want to do is first talk about some safety data, and then we're going to make a blend. So the safety data for cedarwood, it is also non-toxic and non-irritating, which is amazing. We love that. Anytime we get that, we love it, right? It's safe for children to use, which is great. There is a word of caution. If you're pregnant, you definitely want to avoid using cedarwood, not for use when you're pregnant, okay? So let's make a blend. I'm so excited. So I'm by a window. I'm not in direct sunlight, but I still have them covered up because, you know, I don't want to, just in case, want to make sure they're protected. So when you're making an inhaler blend, you want to make sure that, I'm going to actually show you so you can see. So this is just an inhaler. There's many kinds, but this is the one that we're going to use today. So here's the top part. You would just take this off, and you would have your organic cotton wick. It's important for that to be organic because, again, we're inhaling it. That's going right up into our olfactory system. You know, our brain is getting these beautiful smells and these chemicals. We want to make sure that these plant chemicals and everything that we're using is organic, you know. So here's our cotton wick, our organic cotton wick. And I am going to make this blend for you guys. So I'm just going to uncover what I have going on here so they're not in sunlight. And when you are using the blend, you want to ensure that for an inhaler, 10, maximum 15 drops, 10 to 12 or 15 drops is good enough for an inhaler, and no more than that, because these are potent plant chemicals. Like, you don't need much. I'm going to put on some gloves because what I don't want to do is, just in case there is any residue, you don't want to get it on your hands because that is absorption. You know, every time you're touching, you know, you're getting absorption. So you want to make sure that you are protected in that way. And also when you're making blends for someone else, you know, you want to make sure that obviously your hands should be washed and clean, but you want to make sure that you're just doubly safe. So I have a little bowl here, and this is what we're going to mix our blend in. You can't just put it like literally right inside. I just happen to love to mix with the bowl. Sometimes, you know, drops can go everywhere. So when it comes to the blend, you may be thinking like, well, how much should I put in of each? You know, It really just depends on your preference. I happen to love geranium a little bit more than the cedarwood, so I'm going to end up adding a bit more of the geranium than the cedarwood. And I like to start, or I like to do less drops to start with, as opposed to just doing all the drops and then I can't add more. But if I just kind of start around the 10 drop range, I can decide after that, I have room to play with and I can decide, do I want more? Am I good with this? Do I want more of this? And then, I'll have room to go from there. So I'm going to actually add the cedarwood first. So good. So we're just going to do 4 drops of cedarwood. I'm going to add it right in my bowl here. Try to get it right on the wick. Sometimes I miss. Let's see. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay. So that is 4 drops of cedarwood. You also want to ensure that you are, when you are finished with your oil, make sure that you're closing it tightly and storing it in a cool, dark place away from sunlight. I did just cover it back over with my towel that I have. And we're going to do geranium, my favorite. Okay, we're going to do 6 drops of this. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Ooh, it's so hard to get these drops sometimes. Like sometimes they just come pouring out, and you're like, wait. Does anybody else ever have that happen to them? It's just like pouring out. Okay, so those are nice and covered. And so what I like to do, I'm just going to take it, and because there is some drops on the sides here, so I'm just literally going to take it and I am just going to roll it in there because I want to get all this goodness. Like I want to get all the goodness. Oh, just even smelling it is incredible. So incredible. Okay. So now that that is complete, we're going to just take our cotton wick and we're going to insert it right into our inhaler. And what I like to do is, especially when I'm working with a client, I will just give it to them just like this, with the bottom part covered, not completely closed, because then I can't open it back. And then I just let them smell it. Do you like this? Do you want more? Do you want less? And I can decide, this is just for me, but now I can decide if I want more or not. So let's see. Oh, I'm just in love. No other way to describe it. I love it so much. This is perfect for me. So 4 drops of cedarwood and 6 drops of geranium. And what you'll do, if you have decided this is good for you, you're just gonna snap it closed. Oh, there's the snap. So I make sure to hear the snap, and then your inhaler is ready. And these are just perfect. They're perfect for on the go. You can literally have these in your car, in your purse, at your desk, by your bedside table or where you typically are. You can literally have one everywhere because I do have one everywhere. And they're perfect. They're perfect for, emotional health and when we are in states of chronic stress, to get our bodies, back in a calm state. And, please keep in mind, we need both systems. We need our sympathetic mode. We need that fight, flight, or freeze when things are, really not going well, or there is a threat. We need that. And we also need, our parasympathetic mode, where our bodies can be in a calm state and where it can rest, digest, and rejuvenate. We've got to have ebbs and flows between both systems. And it's just that, when we're in a state where we're stuck, or we've had really bad traumas and stresses and just, I guess, a really, really hard life. Many of us struggle with so many things that just overwhelm us and tax our bodies and minds and emotions. And it's nice to be able to have support, being able to use aromatherapy, inhalers, and just various other avenues and aspects to kind of help to regulate our bodies and our emotions, our minds, so that we can really show up and be our best selves. My name is Jessica Kupos. Thank you so much for allowing me to just spend a little bit of time with you and share one of the ways that we can use aromatherapy and essential oils to support our bodies emotionally. It's one of the things that I've used for Mood Makeover Method, and I continue to use. Um, Join me again later this week, and I'm actually going to show you an incredible nighttime diffuser blend, especially when our minds are racing or we can't settle down, or maybe, the stress of the day comes kind of roaring back. Sometimes we push things to the side because we're just like, I don't have time to deal with that right now. But then when our bodies, are, trying to get ready for sleep, sometimes we can't. It's just going crazy. The stress is just roaring back, or our minds are racing and we can't settle. So we're going to do a diffuser blend, a nighttime diffuser blend to help support that. And I can't wait to see you on the next one. Take care. Bye.